afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're watching this. Welcome or welcome back to the channel. If you are new, hi, my name is Christiana, and welcome to my little space on the internet. So, we are getting into a topic that is really screaming at me, has been screaming at me for the past few years, and I think that a lot of people struggle with it. So I just wanted to talk about my experience with it right now in this moment, in the past, open up a conversation. That's what Let's Talk is about. So I like to think about really, really deep topics while I do my makeup, while I get ready in the morning. So you will see a lot of these from me coming up because this is my wheelhouse. This is where I feel most comfortable. I know I've been dipping and dabbling, vlogging, doing just sit downs where I'm just talking into the camera. I really like doing something with my hands while I'm talking. And I don't know, I feel like beautifying myself for the day while talking about a topic is just chef's kiss, all the things that I love. So talking, getting pretty, hearing what you all have to say about the topics, and I'm hoping that over time people will feel more comfortable sharing their experiences with the topics that I'm talking about. The topics are going to just be all over the place, whatever I feel is speaking to me at the moment. So if you can relate to the topic and you want to discuss, comment down below. And if you like what you see, then please hit the like button and subscribe because I'm trying to grow a little community over here. So I will pop up all the products here that I use to get to where I am so far. So this will be me doing my makeup while I am talking about the topic. Some of you are not interested in the makeup, fine. Some of you are not interested in the skincare products, fine. But if you are, I've popped them up, and then I also will have the information for everything down below that I have used on this face and will be using on this face during the video, so that you can go purchase if you are interested, if you are a product girly like me. Anyway, let's get into the topic. So today's topic, we are talking about loneliness. We're talking about voluntary loneliness. We're talking about involuntary loneliness, the discomfort of it, the power of introspection. I am currently in a phase right now in my life where I feel extremely lonely. And that is not to say that I don't have loved ones that are present, that love me very much. I have a boyfriend that loves me. There are people in my life that love me that I spend time with too. But I can't shake this feeling of loneliness, even still. And okay, girl, I guess we are about out of Miss Mama's here, so we gonna need to get us a new bottle soon. I think I said that in the last video, but I really need a new bottle now, so I'm gonna plop it in the cart as soon as I get off of here. But yes, loneliness. And honestly, I have a very extensive history with fearing loneliness. And I'm gonna take you all back to my childhood, how that started for me, and maybe you have a similar experience with it. But I, from a very young age, struggled with my identity, and struggled with finding a way to find my place in social situations. It wasn't because I was, socially inept or socially awkward. I just felt like I was not the same as everyone else. And I felt that a lot of times I was ostracized for that. Like there was just something a little bit different about me, right? Obviously, we know what that is now. And I have blossomed and flourished into the beautiful woman that I am. If you don't have full context in terms of my journey and my story, I'll pop this thumbnail up and link the video down below so you can get the full history on my journey from dysphoria to euphoria. And if you don't know what that is, then click the video and learn. I don't want to rehash it in every single video because at this point it's on the channel, in that video, explained very well. And a lot of people who are watching this video are maybe subscribers that already know the story and don't want me to waste the time rehashing. So if you're new, check that video out when you get the chance so you understand what I mean by journey. But anyway, my hair. And these Annie curls, tight curls. So we did heatless curls last night, and this is how they came out. They obviously will drop because I have, kinky straight hair for the most part. I mean, it's not really silked, so it'll drop. It'll drop basically, so I won't be looking crazy like this all day today. They've already dropped a little bit actually. But anyway, back to loneliness. So I have a long history with dealing with loneliness, and I think that being different was something that really caused me to be ostracized a lot in social situations. And I think when it comes to kids, when I was very young, I think it was unintentional on a lot of kids' parts. I mean, I just think that they just couldn't really understand, relate to me and how I naturally moved. It just was unfamiliar terrain to them, given whatever experiences they had in their own household, the kind of things that their parents were sharing with them. And mind you, I'm 39 years old, so as a young child, I grew up in the 90s. Born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, so a 90s kid. So different times than now, the woke times, if you will. Like, I fear using that term because it just is triggering to the people who have no desire to be open-minded, but that's what it is. Like, we are in a time where information's accessible and there's no excuse for you to be a shitty person. But there are plenty of shitty people, and it's crazy. So yes, when I was growing up, I think that, in the 90s, we had a false sense of security about, how we have really, really blossomed as a society, and that, there's inclusion, and that everyone has rights and everyone has, access to opportunities and the ability to speak freely. But it was all a mirage. It was all a hologram. And now we are dealing with the results of that, of just not really fully understanding that there never was an openness to inclusivity. Like, there are plenty of people who just don't feel that any of the minorities, we'll go with any of them, and we're talking minorities as far as race, we're talking as far as identity, we're talking as far as sexuality. Any kind of minority is experiencing the hard truth right now in this moment. But going back to loneliness, so I feel like by being a part of a lot of those minority groups, and also just not having a firm grasp on who I am, and I get it, I'm a child. Like, no child has a firm grasp on who they are. If you are a child that has a firm grasp, you have a flame that's burning so bright, and you understand who you are and you express that, those children are gifted. Most children are not gifted with the ability to know really and truly who they are. Yes, they move unapologetically in a way that allows them to just be uninhibited, but at the same time, they're not truly able to conceptualize like who I am in this world, right? And I know I struggle with that quite extensively, quite intensely. I knew that there were certain things about me that felt inherently comfortable, but I couldn't grasp what that meant as far as societal labels and what that means for me and fitting in to the world, if you will. So I experienced a lot of loneliness. I mean, I had friends, I socialized, but I never really felt genuinely connected to a lot of those groups and friends and situations. I always felt like I was there in body, but not truly connected in a deep and meaningful way. And that affected me quite a bit over the course of my childhood, to the point where I felt like I worked overtime to learn how to assimilate and fit into groups and to build relationships in a way that felt a bit more meaningful. So if that meant pulling out my acting chops a little bit and doing some things that felt uncomfortable or unnatural for me, but that received the kind of feedback or praise or attention that I desired, then I did that. I did those things. So how I styled myself, how I dressed, how I talked, how I moved, I really put up I pulled out my best acting chops, specifically in my teenage years, to fit in because it was important to me, because I did not enjoy many lonely days and nights as a kid, not really feeling like I had friends. Now, I have a great relationship with my family, always have, still do, and I spend a lot of time with my family. My family is, because this, baby, one thing about this tinted sunscreen, she gets the job done, but she gets the job done too well sometimes. If you get this shit on your clothes or anything, it's hard to get out. I don't know what La Roche-Posay puts in this, but girl, it's like witchcraft trying to get it up out your clothes. So I'm trying to be very careful and gingerly as I put it on my face. But anyway, so I spend a lot of time with my family. I have nephews and just family members in general that are closer in age to me, and we like kind of grew up together. So, I had built-in strong relationships with, my family, my nephews. I have siblings, they're older than me, but we have our relationships with one another, and I felt like that was the lifeline. That's what sustained me whenever I felt like out in the world I couldn't connect with anyone. It really was tough. Like, in hindsight, going through therapy and thinking about this on my own quite a bit, I understand myself a bit more now in this moment, because I couldn't really grasp, like, I am naturally extroverted and very good at connecting with people in a moment quickly, but why I struggle to build deeper, more meaningful relationships, and that's platonically and romantically, I just really struggle with that. And I realized that because it is a behavior that started at a very young age that I haven't actually broken. Like, I'm still unpacking and untraining myself from being superficial in my approach with relationships. And the superficial approach is rooted in me doing what I felt I needed to do to assimilate. And as the years progressed, as I became a bit more conscious about it, it became tactical. It became like a tool and a weapon to kind of get people to think about me in a certain way and to connect with me in a certain way. So it became, for lack of a better term, it became a form of manipulation. I kind of was learning to manipulate people to see me in a certain way. Of course, there was no malice intended by it. All I wanted was friends. All I wanted was to be accepted. All I wanted was to feel loved, And I felt like it was the only way that I could get it and find that happiness, find that euphoria. So that's what I did. And when I tell you, loneliness is, to this day, something that I still struggle with. I do consciously take time for myself. If you have been around for a while, you may have heard me say the expression moments of introspection and the importance of them. That is my alone time. That is my time to process my feelings, to process the things that I've experienced, to really make sense of everything that's going on in my head and in my life. It's important. That form of loneliness is important, but it's uncomfortable. And I think that is everyone's experience with loneliness. there are some people who are gifted. Shout out to my mom. She is one who embraces loneliness. She never had from a very young age, she was, the kind of child that was very comfortable in her skin, and she didn't mind doing things on her own. There are some people who they don't have hang-ups about loneliness. They feel empowered they feel a sense of empowerment in their space by themselves. So there are those people. I am not those people. I do, in my moments of introspection, when I'm by myself, feel a sense of peace and joy in connecting with myself and learning things about myself in the confines of my life that I would not have learned if I were outside distracting myself from having these conversations with myself. But it's not something that, even to this day, that I feel like, oh my gosh, I want to go spend some time with myself. And the timing of this conversation is not random. So I'm currently in a space and a place in my life where I know who I am, I know what I want, but I am struggling to get those things. I'm struggling to execute. I feel a bit lost in terms of what I need to do to get to the fountain of euphoria in the confines of my life, not just who I am and my identity. That is one component of my life, but then the actual living of my life has been a bit of a struggle, especially now. I knew that I wanted to live with more purpose, and I took the necessary actions to do so, but now I feel that I'm struggling because of that decision, and it's not comfortable at all. It's not. And there are many reasons why it's not comfortable. One, because unfortunately we live in a capitalistic society that puts a lot of value on financial means, and that's never been something that's been a priority or important to me. I've always been the kind of person that said success for me is just being able to comfortably live, being able to, have a space that feels comfortable and being able to pay my bills comfortably. But in terms of excess, not for me. I never desired to be rich or to have any of the struggles and strifes that come along with that. I just want to have my own little corner and space where things feel peaceful. Peace is my middle name, okay? I want to just feel at peace with the life that I live. I want to have a meaningful relationship, companionship with someone, and I want to do life together with that person, right? Whatever that may entail. I don't have a playbook in terms of what that looks like for me, because I feel like I'm the kind of person that is open to many different types of lifestyles, right? I feel like I don't necessarily need to have a traditional marriage and kids and things like that. I do value those things, and I wouldn't be opposed to having those things, but at the same time, if I felt like I connected with someone and it felt like in our connection that isn't what we should do, then I would be okay with that. I struggle with the idea of that being me not having a strong identity in terms of what it is that I want. But then I also just realized that I am a very open-minded person. So I don't feel that there's one cookie cutter way to build a relationship, have it, and display it. Everybody is different. Every connection is different. And I want to make sure that I'm open-minded so that I don't block my blessings. So rolling it back to loneliness. So why is loneliness so uncomfortable? For a lot of the reasons that I've mentioned. Loneliness is when you are in silence, but your mind is talking to you. It's going through all the things that you aren't able to think about when you are out in public, right? When you are out in these streets having a good time, you're not wrestling with your thoughts in terms of who you are, what you want out of life, like why certain things are transpiring the way they're transpiring, right? Like you don't have the opportunity to think about those things when you are trying to make your ends meet, or when you are, out having a good time with your friends. These are all distractions from the inner monologue that you have. And I know for me specifically, as a young adult, in my teens, in my 20s, I used all of these distractions quite extensively to silence that noise, because it made me uncomfortable having those conversations with myself, talking about who I am, talking about why what I'm doing is not what's in my best interest, or is not indicative of who I am really. I didn't want to have those conversations because I just wanted to live my life and not have to confront what I felt like were stressors. The stress of really and truly advocating for myself and loving myself. Instead, I'd rather have a moment of joy, a moment of excitement, a moment of what I felt like would make me happy. And for me, my vice was partying and drinking. I partied and drank a lot in my 20s. I barely stayed home. I always was finding something to do. And if I had open time in my calendar, guess what I did? I hit up a friend and said, what's good, girl? Where we going? What we doing? Sometimes I would just get out the house by myself and go places in order to encounter social interactions. So basically like going to places where I know there will be people to interact with, and I do that because anything was better than sitting in the house reflecting on my life, who I am, what I want to do. To me, that was stressful, and I didn't want that stress. I wanted to do any and everything I could to distract myself from that because it was uncomfortable. And I think that is the reason that, people prioritize companionship and friendship so hard, because they are distractions from you having the moments of introspection, the time to sit with yourself and talk with yourself about your life and what you want out of it, and really just getting to know yourself, courting yourself. I like that, courting yourself. It really is your time to court yourself, to really learn things about yourself that you do value. I think a lot of times we get very overwhelmed by having those thoughts, because once we do come to the realization of who we are and what we want out of life, it doesn't necessarily fit nicely into our lives sometimes. Sometimes we've gone off course and didn't even realize it. Like we're doing things and believing that we are happy with the decisions that we're making, but they completely contradict what your inner monologue is telling you. And that's uncomfortable. Think about it. You're in that relationship, right? You love that man so hard, and he's the one. He's the one. But there are, some things that you may feel like are not necessarily, you're lacking some compatibility in some areas, some places, but you're just like, we have to make some concessions in terms of, when it comes to relationships. Yes, we want someone to love us, to respect us. We want to have a genuine connection, and there are certain things in a relationship that are just not tangible. Like you just feel. I believe in the power of feelings and intuition and following those, because I think it's something bigger than what we can control in our behaviors and our emotions. Like our behavior and our behaviors are derived from our emotions, which we don't always have a firm grasp on. We think that we do, but we don't. Because feelings are just that. They're how you feel, and they're triggered by our experiences. So, I think that we don't have as firm of a grasp on those things as I think we think that we do. And I'm okay with that. It's uncomfortable, yes, but I've learned to embrace how I feel in a moment and just go with it. That's why I'm a crybaby, y'all. Like, I'll cry at the drop of a dime. I've always been emotional and a little bit of a crier, but I used to really train myself not to be, because I didn't feel like society respected crybabies or people who lean into their emotions, specifically that emotion. Like, I feel like sadness or disappointment, and expressing that through tears and through just sadness, I think that a lot of people feel like, girl, like, grow up. Don't be a little don't be a little wimp. You know what I mean? But I don't care anymore. Ms. Mamas will cry. When I need to cry, I cry. And I'm unapologetic about it. Yeah, I think that I lost my train of thought. And y'all, people who've been around know that this is something that happens to me quite often. Like, I get the going, and then, girl, I lose my thought. I'm almost done with my face anyway, and I think that you all get the picture, get the point. I am going through this right now where I'm having a lot of time to myself, like I said, voluntarily and involuntarily. I have family that loves me. I have a boyfriend that loves me, but I have friends that love me, but they all have their own lives and situations that don't allow for me to have the kind of time to just be with them all the time. And I wrestle with that. I struggle with it a bit because I feel like, my gosh, like, I want nothing more. I'll talk specifically about my boyfriend because I think when it comes to companionship, there are lots of thoughts and lots of opinions in terms of like how to best navigate it. Oh, we're gonna do a couple of extra steps because I actually have to see people today in a professional way. So we're actually gonna do something to these brows, girl, because I usually don't do anything to these brows. You know, it was #blessed. You see the brows, they're a little sparse in the ends here, and they're a little sparse on the inside, but for the most part, like, girl, they're arched, they're full enough. So I don't tussle with them, and I think that really helps them thrive. I don't do much to them. Plus, if I have like a semi B face, like just my everyday face with a tinted sunscreen and a little concealment, little natural blush, it looks kind of crazy to have like full, perfectly sculpted and full eyebrows. So I don't often do much with them because I don't want to look crazy. Like, to each their own. If you want to have perfect eyebrows every day, you feel like that's a part of your face being beat or being pretty, I get it. I say do you, because I do me every day. Eyebrows though, eyebrows for me, like the thing on my face that I feel like I have to do every day or I don't feel pretty is my mascara. Mascara is that girl. I'm sorry when guys are talking to me and they're just like, oh, something about your eyes. Yeah, it's the eyeliner and the mascara, boo-boo. But I ain't gonna tell them the secret. Men, there are plenty of resources for you to consult to realize that. And they just making conversation anyway. A lot of times they just trying to find an excuse to talk. So I let them talk and just smile. It's whatever. Ooh, no, not that. I need the liquid for the top. For the top eyelash line, girl. We're gonna give them a little bit of eyes. Ooh, I got 10% on the battery. So we don't have that much video, but the face is almost done anyway. But that is my little spiel on loneliness. I probably didn't finish my last thought because I was running my mouth, but I want to know what you all's thoughts are on loneliness and your experiences with loneliness. Do you struggle with spending time with yourself? What is it derived from? Did you have a similar experience to me growing up and having a debilitating fear of being ostracized and I feel like naturally kids yearn for community, yearn to be accepted by, their peers and by their loved ones. I'm gonna do baby wing because we're trying to be professional today, girl. And what are your experiences with loneliness today? Do you seek companionship and seek social experiences to hide from loneliness and hide from those moments of introspection that you should be having? Talk to me down in the comments. I'm curious. I really enjoy making videos like this, primarily not to hear myself talk about the topic because I know my experience with it, but I'm curious to see if other people experience the same thing. On my dysphoria to euphoria video, there are so many wonderful comments underneath of people just relating to my experience, and I'm hoping one day that on this channel, as I talk about just random topics, that that these other topics will also kind of spark the same kind of conversation, because girl, I love conversation. I love to talk to people about their experiences, even if their experiences are vastly different than mine. Maybe they disagree with me in terms of like the importance of moments of introspection. I'm curious. I want to know, because I love to engage in constructive, respectful banter and conversations about everything. Now, if it gets disrespectful, then we're going to have a problem. But as long as the conversation stays respectful, I love to just converse about our different experiences, our different perspectives and viewpoints. That's what makes us beautiful as a diverse population in humankind, is our ability to be able to be different but still dwell in the same spaces, still be able to respectfully dwell in the same spaces. That is beautiful when it's done right. But a lot of times it's not done right because people just can't respect other people having a different perspective or a different opinion. Now, there are some things that can't be an opinion in terms of respecting other people's existence. That there can't be an opinion on that. Like, just common decency and respect for your fellow neighbor. That is not a point of opinion. That is a mandate and requirement for being a decent human being, to be honest with you. But yeah, this is the face, y'all. Oh, let me set her. Oh, we're gonna elevate today. We're gonna set with Makeup by Mario. Since my other one's almost out, my NYX, I use the NYX one every day. But that's it, y'all. That's my conversation on loneliness, and I probably missed some points and some thoughts. I think at some point I will revisit conversations just to talk about things that I may have missed, because these are very off the cuff. I hope that you enjoy me just kind of rambling and talking off the cuff. I enjoy when people do it. Sometimes when you have something planned or produced, it doesn't feel as authentic. And authenticity to me is your magic. That is what makes me feel connected to another person. It's endearing, even if who you are authentically is so vastly different from me. I really can feel authenticity. It radiates off people, and it's something that's just beautiful in my opinion. So I always want to be authentic on here and just keep it real. So that's why I do these videos off the cuff. If you're here and you're still watching, then you enjoy. So hit that like button, y'all. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching this video or another video if you are a returning subscriber or returning viewer. And I'll see you guys in the next topic.